Okay, boys and girls, in this lesson, we are going to be doing decimal subtraction using a model. So our essential question here at the top of the page is, how can you use base 10 blocks to model decimal subtraction? Now we're going to connect again like we did with our previous lesson, and we are going to use base 10 blocks to help us find the difference between the two decimals. So today in class, you're going to be able to model using the base 10 blocks, the manipulatives, but you can also use a quick drawing as well if you don't have access to the base 10 blocks. So remember, the flat is 1, the long is 1/10, which we can also represent as fraction form, and then we also have 1/100th, which we can also represent as fraction form as well. So now we're going to start down here where it says investigate. Use the materials, which are the base 10 pieces. Find the difference of 84 hundredths minus 56 hundredths. First, we're going to model 84, and I'm going to actually do this on the side over here, boys and girls. So 84 hundredths, I'm going to model on the side. So boys, with my quick drawing in here, I'm going to draw 8 tenths. So remember, when we use the tenths, we draw the longs, so that's 1/10, 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths, 5 tenths, 6 tenths, 7 tenths, 8 tenths, and when we draw the hundredths, we use circles. So I'm going to draw 4 hundredths. So 1/100th, 2/100th, 3/100ths, 4/100ths. Now in step 2, we're going to subtract 56 hundredths. So we're going to start by removing 6 hundredths. So we're going to start by removing 6 hundredths, boys and girls. So let's cross off and try that. 1/100th, 2/100ths, 3/100ths, 4/100ths. What do we notice here, boys and girls? We notice that we can't subtract any more hundreds. So what we're going to have to do is we are going to have to regroup. So that means we are going to take one of the tenths and we're going to trade it for 10 hundredths. 1/100th, 2/100th, 3/100ths, 4/100ths, 5/100ths, 6/100ths, 7/100ths, 8/100ths, 9/100ths, 10/100ths. So boys and girls, just notice we took 1 dime and we traded it for 10 pennies. 1/10 traded it for 10 hundredths. So now, boys and girls, we can go back. Originally, we crossed off 1/100th, 2/100ths, 3/100ths, 4/100ths. Now we have to cross 5/100ths, 6/100ths, because remember, that was the directions. Start by removing 6 hundredths. So do we need to regroup? Yes, because we could only subtract 4 hundredths. So that's when we did the exchange and we regrouped and we crossed off in yellow one of the tenths for 10 hundredths. So now we are in part C where it says subtract to the tenths. We're going to remove 5 tenths. So you know me, boys and girls, I like to change my colors up just so I don't get confused. Let's cross off 5 of the tenths. And I'm going to make sure that it's just a different color so it doesn't get confusing. So we have 1/10, 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths, 5 tenths. So we've crossed off 5 of the tenths. So now, boys and girls, what we're going to do is we are going to record our difference. So let's see how many tenths we have left. 1/10, 2 tenths. So right now we have 2 tenths left. Do we have any hundreds left? Let's count them out. 1/100th, 2/100th, 3/100th, 4/100ths, 5/100ths, 6/100ths, 7/100ths, 8/100ths. So we know, boys and girls, that we have 8 hundredths left. So the answer for 84 hundredths minus 56 hundredths is 28 hundredths. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go on to draw a conclusion. It says, what if you remove the tenths first and then the hundredths? How would we regroup in this case? So boys and girls, what you'll notice is that I rewrote the problem 84 hundredths minus 56 hundredths so it could be easier for me, and I also drew the picture of 84 hundredths here. So what it's asking us to do is remove the tenths first and then remove the hundredths. So I'm going to underline the tenths digit in both of them. So what they're asking you to do is subtract 5 tenths from 84 tenths. So let's do that. 1 tenth, 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths, 5 tenths. So now, boys and girls, if we notice what we have left over is that we would have 3 tenths left over. So right now we have 3 tenths left over, and then we have 4 hundredths left over. But boys and girls, we're not done there yet. What we're still going to have to do is we're going to have to subtract now the hundredths. So now what you see, boys and girls, we still run into the same case scenario. We can't take away 6 from 4. Because remember, this is really 4 hundredths minus 6 hundredths. And we can't do that. So we would have to, and actually, in essence, we'd have to regroup again. So from the 3 hundredths that were left, 3 tenths that were left over, we would cross one of them out and we would trade it for 10. So now we have 10 hundredths. Now we can subtract 10 hundredths is more than 6, right? So now we can subtract. Before we couldn't subtract. So now we can regroup. We're still going to have to regroup, boys and girls. So boys and girls, what you'll see is I wrote the explanation of what we would do here. So I said we would be left with 3 tenths, and we would have to regroup 1 tenth for 10 hundredths to be able to subtract the 6 hundredths. Either way you do it, boys and girls, you would get the same answer, but that's how we would do it if we subtracted the tenths first. So now we have this hot question. It says, if 2 decimals are both less than 1, what do you know about the difference between them? Well, we know if they are less than 1, the difference between them would always have to be. So boys and girls, what you'll see is I put an example here to illustrate this point. So I said, since 99 hundredths minus 1 hundredth would give us 98 hundredths and is the greatest possible difference, because remember we had to have 2 decimals that were less than 1. I know that if both decimals are less than 1, the difference will also be less than 1, which is the explanation for this problem. Now, boys and girls, we're going to make connections. It says you can draw quick pictures to subtract decimals that need to be regrouped. So this is how you can use models without having the base 10 pieces in front of you at home, or maybe when you're doing problems on a quiz or a test. So it says use a quick picture to model 2 and 82 hundredths minus 1 and 74 hundredths. So first what we're going to do is we're going to subtract the hundreds. Notice, boys and girls, we start at the back. We subtract the hundreds, then the tens, and then the ones. So we need to subtract 7 hundredths from 2 hundredths. So what we see here, boys and girls, is that there are not enough hundredths to remove. So it says, are there enough hundreds? We would say no, because when you look at the original drawing, there was only 2 hundredths. They wanted us to subtract 7 hundredths. We can't do that. So what we would have to do, boys and girls, as you can see from this picture, they regrouped. They traded 1 tenth and they crossed it off. Remember, 1 tenth is kind of like a dime. And what they did was they added 10 hundredths, which is like adding 10 pennies. Equivalent values, just in different formats. So now we're going to subtract the tenths from that problem. I'm going to rewrite the problem just so everybody can see it, even though we're on 2 different pages right now. So now what we did is we're going to subtract the tenths, boys and girls. It says, are there enough tenths removed? Again, I'm going to underline the value. 4 tenths is less than 8 tenths, so we can subtract those. So you can see they crossed off those 4 tenths. So we had enough tenths, so we didn't have to regroup, which was exciting in this problem. Now, it says we're going to subtract the ones. If we underline the ones, can you take away 1 from 2 ones? Yes. And as you can see that, boys and girls, they did that here as well. So now it says to draw a quick picture of our answer. We have 1 whole, and then we have here in the middle, it's kind of hard to see, 3 tenths, and then you can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hundredths. So our answer would be, boys and girls, 2 and 35/100ths. So these are just several examples of how you can use drawing a model in base 10 pieces to solve a subtraction problem.